In the days when the red earth still stained the feet of men and women like a permanent mark of belonging, when every compound echoed with the sound of pestles greeting mortars at dawn, there lived a man called Adéṣínà in the village of Òkè-Òdò. Òkè-Òdò was not a village that forgot people easily. It remembered births, remembered deaths, remembered insults spoken 20 rainy seasons ago. It remembered who poured libation correctly and who did not. It remembered who greeted elders with bowed heads and who walked past with pride stiffening their necks. And in that village, Adéṣínà was known. He was known as a good man, tall, broad-shouldered, with a beard he groomed carefully every market day. Adéṣínà spoke softly but firmly. He laughed easily but never too loudly. He was the kind of man elders pointed to when young boys misbehaved. "Look at Adéṣínà," they would say. "See how a man should carry himself." He married early, as was expected. His wife, Morenike, came from a respected family across the river. She was beautiful in a quiet way, skin the color of new palm oil, eyes that watched more than they spoke. When she walked, her wrapper never dragged in the dust, and when she knelt to greet elders, she did so with grace. Their wedding was not extravagant, but it was proper. Goats were slaughtered, palm wine flowed, drums spoke until the moon climbed high. Elders prayed over them. "May your house be full," they said. "May children sit around your heart like calabashes." For many years, nothing appeared wrong. Adéṣínà built his house slowly, brick by brick. He farmed yam and cassava. He attended meetings. He paid his dues. He corrected other men's children as if they were his own. Yet, in the deepest part of his chest, there lived a truth no one knew. Not his friends, not his elders, not even Morenike, who slept beside him every night. Adéṣínà desired men, not in the careless way boys experiment behind palm trees, nor in the passing admiration men sometimes have for strength or beauty. No, this desire lived in him like a second heart, beating quietly, constantly, painfully. From the time he was a boy, Adéṣínà knew he was different. When other boys chased girls at the river bank, his eyes followed the muscles on their backs as they swam. When men wrestled during festivals, his chest tightened in ways he could not name. He prayed it away. He flogged himself with silence. He buried it beneath obedience. In Òkè-Òdò, there were no words for men like him that were not soaked in insult or fear. What the village did not understand, it crushed. What it feared, it named evil. So Adéṣínà learned early that survival required performance, and no one performed better than him. Morenike was not unhappy, at least not at first. Adéṣínà was kind. He did not beat her. He did not starve her. He did not take another wife, even when elders hinted that perhaps his household needed more life. At night, he touched her when duty demanded it. He did what was expected. He was gentle, quick, controlled, too controlled. Morenike noticed, but she said nothing. In her mother's house, she had been taught that a woman's endurance was her crown. So she endured the distance in her husband's eyes. She endured the way he turned away quickly after intimacy. She endured the silence that lay between them like a sleeping child neither dared wake. Years passed. No child came. Whispers began. At the stream, women spoke carefully. "At first we thought it was her," one said, "but she eats well. She's healthy." At a man's age, another murmured, "Something is not right." Adéṣínà heard the whispers and felt them like stone thrown at a roof he had spent years building. He consulted herbalists. He offered sacrifices. He prayed louder than before, but his truth remained, and it grew heavier. What the village did not know was that When the moon thinned and night stretched its arms wide, Adéṣínà sometimes left his house. Not every night. Only when the ache became unbearable. He would tell Morenike he was checking traps or guarding crops from thieves. She believed him because belief was easier than suspicion. Beyond the far farms, near the abandoned cocoa sheds, there was another kind of gathering. Quiet, careful, hidden. Men like Adéṣínà found one another there. No names were spoken, no promises made, only understanding passed between eyes that had learned to speak in silence. Among them was Bamidele. Bamidele was younger, reckless, with laughter that did not know how to hide. Where Adéṣínà was controlled, Bamidele was fire. Where Adéṣínà feared exposure, Bamidele almost welcomed it. You live two lives, Bamidele once said, fingers tracing the scars on Adéṣínà's hands. One will kill the other. Adéṣínà said nothing because he knew. The first crack in Adéṣínà's perfect image did not come from the night gatherings. It came from his wife. One evening, as rain beat hard against the roof and the world smelled of wet earth, Morenike spoke. "Husband," she said quietly, not looking at him, "do you still desire me?" The question struck like lightning. Adéṣínà froze. "What kind of question is that?" he asked, too quickly. Morenike turned then, her eyes calm but sharp. "I am your wife," she said. "I sleep beside you, but I feel alone." Adéṣínà opened his mouth, then closed it. For the first time in many years, he did not have the right performance ready. Outside, thunder rolled. Inside, the house listened. After the night Morenike asked her question, the house of Adéṣínà changed. Nothing obvious broke. No plates shattered. No voices rose in anger. But something invisible shifted, like a roof beam quietly cracking while everyone slept beneath it. Adéṣínà became more careful. He spoke less at home, choosing his words as one chooses ripe fruit, slowly, suspiciously. When Morenike watched him, he pretended not to notice. When she turned away, he felt relief and shame arrive together, like twins who never separated. Morenike, for her part, began to observe. A woman who has lived long enough knows when silence is no longer peace. She noticed how her husband dressed more carefully before leaving at night, how he bathed longer, how he returned smelling not of farms or rain, but of soap used by another hand. She said nothing. In Òkè-Òdò, a woman who spoke too quickly often regretted it for a lifetime. Villages, like old women, notice changes before they explain them. Adéṣínà stopped joining other men on certain jokes. When conversations drifted toward women, he smiled, but did not add his voice. At festivals, he lingered too long near certain men and not long enough near others. It was Yalot Sade, the market leader, who first frowned openly. That woman had eyes sharpened by years of weighing lies alongside tomatoes. "One cannot hide smoke forever," she murmured to herself one afternoon as she watched Adéṣínà laugh with Bamidele by the palm wine stand. Too close, too familiar. Bamidele did not fear the village the way Adéṣínà did. He drank too much. He touched too boldly. He laughed at the wrong times. "Why do you live like a man who borrowed his breath?" he asked Adéṣínà one night, frustration sharpening his voice. "They praise you for a life that is not yours. This village will destroy you if you speak like that," Adéṣínà replied. "It will destroy us." Bamidele snorted. "Then let it," he said. "I am tired of living like a ghost." Those words stayed with Adéṣínà, heavy as stones in his pockets. When Morenike had spent nearly 10 rainy seasons without a child, the elders called Adéṣínà. They sat beneath the ancient Iroko tree, their backs bent but their authority straight. Your house is too quiet, one elder said gently. A man's lineage must breathe. Another cleared his throat. If your wife's womb is tired, he added, take another. It is not shame. Adéṣínà bowed his head. I will consider your wisdom, he said. But inside him, panic roared. Another wife would bring more eyes, more nights, more lies. Still, refusing would raise suspicion. So he agreed. The second wife, Aduke, was young and hopeful. She entered the house believing she was joining a blessed family. At first, Morenike welcomed her politely. Tradition demanded it. But as weeks passed, bitterness crept into her chest like cold. Still, no child came. Not from Morenike, not from Aduke. Whispers became laughter. Laughter became questions. Questions became dangerous. One night, Bamidele did not return from the cocoa sheds. By morning, the village buzzed. Someone had seen him living with a stranger. Someone else claimed he spoke too freely after drinking. By noon, his name was being spoken with caution. By evening, Adéṣínà was summoned again. This time, the elders' voices were no longer gentle. You know something, they said, and silence can also be guilt. Adéṣínà felt the two shadows inside him collide. For the first time, he realized that performance had limits. That night, Morenike followed him. She had never done so before, but desperation makes courage where obedience once lived. She saw where he went. She saw who waited. And when understanding struck, it did not arrive as anger. It arrived as grief. Years of confusion suddenly aligned like beads on a string. The distance, the silence, the emptiness of the bed. When Adéṣínà returned home near dawn, she was waiting. You deceived everybody, she said quietly. Even me. Adéṣínà knelt. For the first time since boyhood, he wept without hiding. Morenike did not raise her voice that night. That was what frightened Adéṣínà the most. Anger could be argued with, tears could be pleaded against, but the calm sat between them like a judge who had already reached a verdict. You used my life to hide your own, she said, her voice steady. You let my name be dragged through dust while you stood clean. Adéṣínà pressed his forehead to the floor. I was afraid, he whispered. This village does not forgive what it does not understand. Morenike laughed once, short, hollow. So you chose to destroy me instead. Outside, the cocks announced morning. Inside, a marriage ended without ceremony. Morenike did not go to the elders immediately. In Òkè-Òdò, a woman who carried truth needed strategy more than courage. She went first to Yalode. They sat behind the market stalls as women folded unsold cloth. When Morenike finished speaking, the market leader did not gasp. She nodded slowly. I suspected, she said, but suspicion is a child. Proof is a grown man. What will become of me? Morenike asked. Yalode held her hand. That depends on whether this village loves truth more than comfort. When Aduke discovered the truth, her world collapsed loudly. She screamed, she cursed, she tore her wrapper and demanded answers. You married me to cover yourself, she cried. I was not a wife, I was a disguise. Her father arrived with rage, sharpened by humiliation. You have shamed my house, he told Adéṣínà. You used our daughter like a goat tied to a fence. The elders could no longer delay. The entire village gathered. Men, women, children perched on walls, silence thickened the air. Adéṣínà stood alone. Bamidele's disappearance had already cracked the village's certainty. Now, Morenike's words poured salt into the wound. You deceived everybody, an elder said, repeating her words. You stood among us wearing another man's face. Some shouted in anger, some spat. Some looked away, afraid that looking too closely would reveal their own secrets. Adéṣínà did not defend himself. I lied, he said. I was afraid of becoming nothing. Fear is rarely quiet. That village demanded punishment. This kind of thing spreads, one man shouted. If we do not cut it out, it will infect our sons. Someone threw a stone. Another followed. Yalode Sade stepped forward. You accuse him of deception, she said loudly. But ask yourselves, did we give him space to speak truth? The crowd hesitated. But fear is stubborn. The elders made a decision. Adéṣínà was banished. He was given one night to leave Òkè-Òdò forever. Morenike watched him pack, not with love, not with hatred, but with exhaustion. What will you do? She asked. I will go where I am not pretending, he replied. She nodded. You took my years, she said, but I will not let you take my future. She stayed. The village, eager to erase shame, allowed her to remain. She would later remarry, and her womb would finally answer, proving what many already suspected, that the problem was never her. Adéṣínà left before dawn. No drums followed him, no curses chased him, only silence. At the edge of the village, he found Bamidele, alive, scarred, waiting. They did not speak. Words were no longer necessary. They walked together into uncertainty. Years later, Òkè-Òdò told his story often, but like all stories, it changed. Some versions painted Adéṣínà as a monster, others as a victim. A few, whispered late at night, spoke of a man crushed between truth and tradition. Elders ended the tale with a warning. A lie can protect you for a season, but it will demand payment with interest.